Sorry. For today's episode, we just want to start by thanking some of our patrons who make this podcast what it is. They're the ones that are keeping these doors open, keeping us doing what we do.
Keeping the lights on.
We want to give a special shout out to Julia Kendall,
Nace Fuenmayor,
Rachel Dickhausen,
Nicholas Eanes,
Gotham City,
Isabella Pearson,
Lily Lesh,
Sarah Hanks,
Jordan B.,
Stephen J.,
Polly Magne,
Jennifer,
Megan McAtee,
Jess Ackroyd,
Megan Willis,
Rachel Bartholomew,
Katie Tenenbaum,
Bay Ehrman,
Rachel Fox,
Sincerity,
Mitchell Harlow,
Stephen Schambach,
Rachel Long,
and Thomas Wood.
All right. Thanks, guys.
We really appreciate your help.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, let's get down to business.
Howdy, yokes, and welcome back to Bacon and Eggs. I'm Tyler Carlin.
And I'm Ethan Edgehill.
And we're coming to you live from Toronto.
So deface your local Pac-Man machine.
And make sure you don't lose your vegan powers.
Because today we're bringing you
Scott Pilgrim versus the world. And not just Scott Pilgrim versus the world. Ethan, it's just you and me today.
It's just you and me. It's been a minute.
It has been a minute, but it feels
while.
good.
Feels good to be back to the square one, back to where we started. Talking about one of our personal collective favorite movies.
So here's what I want to do, since it's been a while since you and I had a little chit-chat ourselves. I want to run down some statistics, and then I want to hear what's going on in Ethan's life.
All right.
You know, what's next
what's good?
Mr. Edgehill. But let's run down some stats. This movie was released on, August?
August.
The movie released on August 13th, 2010. That was only 2,832 days ago. It feels like longer to me. It is the first movie we have reviewed to lose money.
Yeah, it had a $60 million budget, and it made, in its initial box office release, $47.7 million.
That's insane.
Yeah, it lost 12.3.
That's insane, but it was extremely well received. 82% certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes for critics, 83% audience score, and a 69 on Metacritic, which for a romp like this, I think is an excellent score.
Yeah, Metacritic, that's pretty generous for a movie like this.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Ethan, do you have a negative review for this movie?
I do. It's a short one. It is from Scott Nash of MovieBuffs.com. He says, maybe with a different lead actor and about 20 minutes of running time chopped from it, I might have enjoyed it. Instead, I just laughed through parts, but was never emotionally drawn into any of it.
I hear that. I can see where he's coming from. And I will say, the first time I saw it, Michael Cera had to be sold to me. It wasn't immediate that I was in.
Michael Cera almost always has to be sold to me.
But at the same time, I can't think of a role he's been in where I've been like, no, I don't like this.
I don't watch all that many Michael Cera movies, if I'm really honest with you.
He was good. He was in that Bill Murray Christmas special, but that wasn't his fault that it was bad.
No, that was just bad. It was just terrible.
Yeah. He was like the agent.
Yeah. It was so unmemorable that I forgot. He was good in Juno.
He was very good in Juno, and he was good in this. And I'll be honest, that's about the extent of my knowledge.
I didn't really like him in Superbad, but I also didn't really like Superbad that much.
Yeah, Superbad, I think, was a little overrated. I've got a positive review here.
Go for it.
It comes from Liam Lacey at the Globe and Mail. He says, you need to take a step back to see the emotional heart of the story. An allegory of a generation struggling to exchange the solipsistic Xbox triumphs for awkward real-world love and empathy. And I guess what he's saying there is that it does have heart, and it is a good story, but it takes a little bit of understanding of a certain type of a certain culture.
Yeah, you got to really buy into the whole video game thing to kind of even get this movie.
Yeah, it does not immediately make sense. When did you first see this?
I don't honestly remember. I'm pretty sure you showed it to me, because I definitely didn't see it in theaters.
No, I did not either. I remember being at marching band and John Wiggins coming up to me and being like, you have to see Scott Pilgrim. And I was like, listen, John, I'm not going to do that. That movie looks terrible. Michael Cera is a chump. He's not an action star. Doesn't look like my kind of movie. Looks like a pretty boring premise. I'm not interested. Not interested. And he was like, no, seriously, it's awesome. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's nice.
Pretty much the experience I've had trying to show this movie to anybody. It's just kind of like, just trust me. It's good.
Right.
I swear to God, it's good. I swear.
You just have to sit through it.
I promise. It's good. I can't even explain it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like playing a video game, watching a music video, while watching a movie, and it's like all forms of media attacking you at once.
Yeah, absolutely. It's complicated, and you can follow. I mean, it's a pretty standard story. It's, you know, this guy has to go through all these triumphs to get through to the girl that he loves.
It's Edgar Wright. You and I don't talk a lot about directors on here, but Edgar Wright is somebody that of everything I've seen, I've really, really liked. Although I will admit, I'm not the most well versed.
Well, it's like Edgar Wright's one of those directors where you've probably seen an Edgar Wright movie, probably without realizing it, and then kind of once you realize that your movies that you're watching are Edgar Wright movies, they make sense together.
Yeah. I mean, he's a screenwriter from Ant-Man, so that's a little tie-in from our show. He produced, screenwrote, and directed this, and he was also on Hot Fuzz and all of those movies, I think.
Yeah, he did Shaun of the Dead, he did Hot Fuzz, he did this, he did Baby Driver.
And Baby Driver is the one that I think that you and I would probably, say is the quintessential Edgar Wright.
Yeah, I mean, Baby Driver just has so much...
Good.
Well, it's got so much character to it. Just the movie itself.
Yeah, but so does Shaun of the Dead. Yeah, I feel like he's making a name for himself. Like, I feel like a Jon Favreau makes good movies. Edgar Wright is starting to make like a stylized name for himself. Does that make sense?
I just wouldn't consider Shaun of the Dead, and I would consider Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz to be very similar, but I would not consider them to be similar to Baby Driver.
I can see that. They've got sort of that like dark, dry comedy to them in parts. I don't know.
If you would have put a gun to my head, I would have said that Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead were Matthew Vaughn movies.
Oh yeah. Very similar directors there. But Ethan, I'm curious, what's going on in the life of Edge Hill?
Not a whole lot. I just got back from tour a couple weeks ago, just still trying to kind of catch up and piece my life back together from that. And, you dip out for a little while, and I came back to a job that missed me, and a girlfriend that missed me, and a podcast that missed me, and I'm still just kind of...
I did not miss you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I cried every night.
Yeah, okay. That's what I was thinking. But no, I mean, I'm good, just kind of moseying along, man. Living my life. Living my best life.
I hear that big time. You've been having a good time. From my perspective, it looks like you're having a lot of fun.
I am having a lot of fun. It's been a good couple months, been a good start to the year. 2018's been good so far. 2017 was probably the best year I've had, so hoping that 18 can give me that same credit, but more.
That's good.
Yeah. How's Tyler World?
Well.
I'll be surprised if 2018 outdoes 2017 for you.
2017 was a good year. Bought a house, got married, got a dog, got a car. It was a good year.
Yeah, you did the thing.
I did the whole thing. The thing that like millennials are like, all my peers are doing this stuff. I was doing all of that stuff.
Yeah, you're that peer.
Right. I'm that guy.
I no longer have to be pressured to do any of that because you've done all of it.
Right. But I just very recently, actually yesterday, I joined a CrossFit gym, and I feel like I would be remiss not to tell you about it, because that's the thing, right? Is I have to talk about it to everyone.
Like you're one day in and you've already told everybody you know about
all the time
about CrossFit. You made a separate Discord channel for your CrossFit.
Yeah. Hashtag get yoked.
So you've bought in already to the whole like, I'm a CrossFit guy. I have to be a CrossFit guy.
The whole lifestyle. I'm all in. Because they tell you, here's the problem, is they tell you have to be all in, and they charge you an obscene amount of money to be all in, and then they're like, so in order for you to get this discount, we need you to check in every time you're here, like on Facebook. And I was like, I don't check in anywhere on Facebook.
Yeah, that'd be a hard no for me.
But now I've been doing it because I want the discount, and also I'm in like a business group, like for my day job, that's like, anytime you come to one of our meetings, you have to check in. And I'm like, I don't, like, what is with this checking in thing? Do people use Facebook still?
Business group? Yes.
I'm a member of the Blue Ridge Business Alliance.
People our age and older use Facebook.
I know, man. The kids are like,
we are at that weird
if it's not Instagram,
age.
don't talk to me.
Oh, I hate Facebook. I hate Facebook. I post things to Facebook to make my family happy and to promote stuff, and that's it.
I'm learning to like it more and more. The more I use it, the more I like it.
The more you turn into a dad?
Yeah, I mean, like, full dad status. By the way, I'm not becoming a dad. Just if anybody's like, oh my gosh, is Tyler about to become a father?
No.
I am not.
Adopted the full-on datitude.
I think we've...
Tyler goes to bed at 7 p.m., wears high-waisted jeans. He just bought a straw hat online.
Oh my God, I'm so excited about it. It's from the Gap. I don't think that like you're allowed to shop at the Gap if you're like 15 to 30. So
did you get it like from like thegap.com?
Thegap.com.
Like not on Amazon?
No, I didn't shop it around at all. I went straight to Gap.
Direct to the source.
I mean, actually, that's not true. I did use Honey, which we don't have a promo code, but we will get one before this goes live. So there's a link in the doobly-doo for Honey.
What in God's name is Honey?
Honey just applies promo codes for you. It's this amazing service.
Oh.
You can go to like Get Honey. I don't know what the website is, but it's / something breakfast related. It's something like that.
Gotcha.
/ CrossFit.
Well, I don't get that many things like mailed to me. generally.
Here's my mentality: is Amazon Prime just upped the value, the cost of Amazon Prime this year?
Yeah.
I'm gonna get, I think it's $110 now for an annual membership.
Right, which means you realistically, if the shipping is...
If it's $10 an item, I need to buy 11 items on Amazon.
$10 is a lot.
Is that okay? If it's $5 an item.
Have you ever bought something? And I know we're completely off topic here and whatever. Have you ever been to go buy something, right? And you're in the checkout process and you're like say you're buying like a shirt or something, right? And you get a good deal and it's like $15, right? And you go through and it's like $7.99 for shipping, and I'm just like, nope.
No, I'm not buying this shirt.
I'm not buying it.
Like a $23 shirt is still a decent
right, but
deal.
it's the fact that I'm paying 50% of the item cost for shipping.
Yeah,
it feels
drives me crazy.
Wrong.
You know what gets me is those penny bidding websites. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the Quibids and...
Yeah. You did one of those in college.
Yeah, I put like $4 into it.
But it's like a total sham, right?
Yeah,
like,
completely. You don't win anything.
Because, well, not only do you not win anything, but each bid costs like 60 cents, right?
It's like 10 cents.
Okay, but then
you don't win anything.
Right. So each bid is 10 cents. So what ends up happening is you bid on something like 40 times. So that's, how much is 40 times 10? That's $4.
Yeah, it's $4.
And then you don't win it, or you do win it.
And then you have to buy it.
Pay, yeah, and then you have to pay like $30 for the thing. It's like, yeah, okay, you saved a lot of money on an iPad. But typically you would bet way more than 40 times.
Yeah, it's because it just, every time you bid, it like extends the bidding time.
Yeah, it's evil. It's totally evil.
So there's plenty of people out there willing to pay almost full price for an iPad that are like just ruining it for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks.
The idea is we all need to be in the same room, right? And then one person be like, okay, I want this thing. Nobody else bid on it.
What I do is I just find the thing, because I don't have Amazon Prime, because I don't get that many things shipped to me, because I haven't had a reliable mailbox in 3 years. Complicated story.
We live together.
Yeah, I still got stuff lost all the time. I don't know. I'm just unfindable by the post office, apparently. I don't want to talk about it. I just had a huge package fiasco the last couple days.
Anyway.
You
got a new guitar amp.
Yeah, I did get a new guitar amp. It's sitting here right next to me. I have not used it yet.
It's embarrassing. You did all that work and you haven't even used it?
Well, I got home at 6:45 and we started recording at 7.
That's true.
So I pulled it out of the box and looked at it.
That was a wise move.
It's got a lot of knobs.
I don't know what any of those knobs do. When I played guitar,
it's got like 35 knobs and like 27 buttons.
I could identify 5 knobs that I knew what they did when I played guitar.
And there's at least 11 input jacks on the back.
For what?
Or output jacks, I guess. Dude, I have no idea. The thing behind this amp is it can sound like any other amp ever made, ever.
That sounds crazy. What's your problem with the post office and shipping and Amazon Prime?
No, I just don't have Prime. So like my
What?
Yeah, I don't have Prime. Why would I pay for it if I don't get stuff shipped to me?
Because it's free 2-day shipping on anything.
Right. Okay, so what I do instead is find the thing in stock at a store somewhere, and then I go bully the store into giving me the Amazon price.
That seems really rude, and I'm not about it.
Well, it's not. Like, most stores, like Target, Walmart, Best Buy especially does it. They'll all price match. As long as you can find it from some reputable online retailer and not like,
Ethan and Ty opened
Right, exactly. They would rather just sell the thing for a little bit of a discount than not sell the thing.
Well, if they do just take it from anywhere, then Bacon and Eggs will...
We'll
be selling iPads for $2
anything.
at baconandeggs.media. Anyway, did you see Scott Pilgrim?
Yeah, we watched it together, actually. And if you want to watch our upcoming movies with us every now and then, we're going to be adding a new reward tier to our Patreon page where we watch movies together on Rabbit. So that'll be the new $10 reward, and you'll get to watch the movie with us. We'll have an ongoing discussion about the movie while it's going on and afterward, and it'll be a good time. So if you guys want to head on over to patreon.com/baconandeggs, you can sign up for our new $10 reward tier and get access to movies we watch together.
And if $10 is steep for you, then I get it. You can do the $5 reward tier and just hang out in our Discord server with us, which is super great. We're always talking about movies and books and all sorts of things. Or you can do $3 and Ethan and I will shout you out, or just $1 and we'll occasionally post playlists on Patreon and all sorts of other stuff that we like.
Yep, it'll be a good time.
Will be.
So yeah, I watched Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. This is probably... How many times do you think you've seen this?
More than 10, less than 20.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I don't exactly know how many times because I don't exactly remember when the first time I saw it was. But it's a fairly short movie. It's like an hour and a little bit over a half, I think.
It's 112 minutes, so it's...
Oh, is it almost 2 hours? I did not realize that.
I think that's what your review said, or I read a review that said 112 minutes. I don't know.
Mine did not give a specific runtime in the review, but it goes by quickly. It's an easy, bite-sized movie to watch.
Yeah, an overarching review from me. It's one of my favorite movies just because of all the little quips and references, and the characters are so interesting, and it's so beautifully shot. And as far as like comic book to film adaptations, this is one of the best, at least in the first two acts, which is what I've read in the comics. I have not read the closing, but from what I understand, it kind of deviates at that point.
Well, that's because the rest of the books weren't written yet.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Oh. But I will say this, as far as a movie goes, for me, the first two acts are sublime. The world building is super interesting. All the characters, the quips that are happening then, the interactions between everybody when you're like sort of establishing that this is going to be a super weird kind of thing.
Right.
Like a surreal, like, the movie experience. That's what I really enjoy with this movie. I don't really care that much about the conclusion.
Yeah, if you're gonna put an issue with this movie, that really comes from the third act.
Yeah.
It's good. It's very good. It wraps the story up perfectly. There's no other way you could have done it. But it's very Deus Ex Machina. It relies a lot on like, hey, we just use a video game trope to totally buy ourselves out of a problem that we created. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah. I do think it's super clever. Just to note, there's a character in the movie, Ramona Flowers, where like they use her hair color to distinguish the three acts of the movie. Like in the first act, it's pink. In the second act, it's blue. In the third act, it's green. I just wanted to point that out.
Oh, as far as really meta movie type stuff goes, like if you're gonna bring mise-en-scène into the conversation, which is, how would you define that exactly?
It is
You're the
sort
one
of the
that
way
taught me
you
that phrase.
Right. It's sort of the way you frame a shot, and you use not just the characters and the dialogue, but the colors and the set and everything to tell the story. And you know, there's a ton of stuff about like what makes a good shot and what makes a bad shot, and you know, it all comes down to perspective in the end. But it's, I mean, I can pull up a definition for you, and we'll riff on that.
No, I mean, we don't need a definition, but I think that this movie in particular, especially for the genre that it fits within, does that whole concept better than most other movies.
Oh yeah. So just to give you an idea, the dictionary definition is the arrangement of scenery and stage properties in a play. But just the way that they do everything with the special effects, with like the labeling, everything is hilarious. Like it's not just labeled, but it'll like have some quip about the character. You know, like they're going around the room and it's like Scott's
everything
jacket.
that's Wallace's and everything that's Scott's, and like everything is Wallace's except the pile of clothes on the floor and like Scott's jacket. And it goes Scott's jacket and then Wallace's jacket. Better.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's always giving like stats on the characters, and it's like, but like you don't get any idea that this movie's gonna be totally bonkers until the first fight scene.
Oh right, yeah. It's just totally fairly
like it's
normal.
Right. It's like a weird sort of artsy,
like teen comedy,
young adult comedy, and then you know that first fight scene happens with Patel, and it's like, what is going on?
So Matthew Wright, Matthew Wright. I tried to combine Matthew Vaughn and Edgar Wright.
I wish we could do that.
Edgar Wright,
It'd be a nice world.
Yeah, can we get like a Joan Anthony Russo type movie, but with Matthew Vaughn and Edgar Wright directing it?
Right.
Yeah.
Taron Egerton and Michael Cera star. I'll even take like Simon Pegg and what's the name of that British dude? Colin Firth?
Yeah.
Is that his name?
If you're talking about Colin Firth, then yes, his name is Colin Firth.
Is he Galahad or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm always nervous that I'm going to say the wrong name.
No. Colin Firth. Yeah, that's just a big question. Like, are you talking about Colin Firth? If so, then yes, it's Colin Firth.
It's kind of a big question.
But yeah, no, Edgar Wright said about this movie that he wanted to make it like a musical, but anywhere that they would randomly break into song, people just start fighting each other.
But the issue with that, and that's hilarious, by the way, but the issue with that is that it kind of is a musical. Like Scott's in a band, and like part of the story is how he's moving on up in the band. And a really cool turning point is when he's like, I don't care about the band, all I care about is Ramona Flower, which is sort of always true. But anyway, yeah. What were you saying?
No, I was just saying that like that's when the movie starts to go off the rails, is that first fight scene. It's where you go from this normal movie and you get this really Bollywood type fight scene.
Yeah, and it's just absolutely insane. Like Scott knows how to fight. Like Michael Cera is the most lame looking person there ever has been and ever
lame
will
looking,
be.
Lame sounding, like he's the anti-cool.
He's like tall and lanky, and he's got like a big nose, and he's got shaggy hair, and like
his hair has no particular shape to it. There's no style to it.
Right. And like he just punches this dude square in the face, and like everybody's just cool with it. Like at first they're like, what's going on? But not what's going on, why are they fighting? What's going on? Who is Scott fighting?
Right. Well, and this is one of the few examples of there's this really like early 19th century idea that happened a lot in France and South American writing called magic realism. And it's the same thing you get in like Birdman, movies like that, that are kind of, it exists in a world where everything is pretty much the same, but just doesn't necessarily obey the rules the same way it should.
How is Birdman not obeyed?
Because he's like, you just gotta watch it. I'm not gonna like explain that right now in this podcast because I'm sure we'll get there eventually.
Oh, I love Bird. So good.
But it's like in this movie, it's like everything that happens in this warped version of Toronto is totally normal to these people.
Right. Like it's not like like they kill a major action star.
And everybody's
like,
just
nobody
like,
cares.
Yep, cool. Yeah, Chris Evans' character just dies.
I mean, they all die.
Yeah, but he's the famous one. He's Lucas Lee.
At that point, yeah, he was famous in the movie. But at that point, who do you think was the most famous of the exes? I think Brandon Routh. Routh? I thought it was Ruth.
I'm pretty sure it's Ralph. I've always heard it said, but
there's a video on how to pronounce his name.
I don't know. I mean, did that many people watch Superman Returns? Did more people watch Superman Returns than Fantastic Four?
Oh, I don't think so. No, it's Ruth according to this video.
Is it really? That's weird.
Yes.
It's a weird way to spell Ruth.
I agree. But
nobody liked Superman Returns. Like, you do realize that, right? Like, you keep talking about, I love this guy. Nobody liked that movie. That movie was utter pile of garbage.
I don't like him because of Superman Returns.
What do you like him because of? What else have he been in?
He's an Arrow.
Oh, Jesus Christ. What important has he been in?
That's the most important thing there is.
Arrow?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Who was he in Arrow?
He's the Atom.
Who?
He's a DC, like, from what I've seen, he sort of floats back and forth. Ray Palmer is the character's name. He's also Daniel Shaw in Chuck. He's not in a ton of stuff, it turns out.
He was Daniel Shaw. Look at that. I liked Chuck.
People did like Chuck.
Chuck was a good show.
Did you? I never watched. I saw the pilot, and
Chuck,
it's like...
Chuck was funny.
The lead from this show looks like Little Dicky.
From what show?
Chuck.
Zachary Levi? Levi, like the Warrior 3?
Yeah.
He does not look like Little Dicky.
Who does he play in the Warrior 3?
I don't know their names. He's not Hogan.
He's Fandral. Hogan is the Asian dude.
Zachary Levi is the one that got replaced. He was the replacement after the first.
Oh, he's the one that's got the sword.
Yeah.
But not the girl.
Yeah. Anyway, he does not look like Little Dicky.
Speaking of news, did you see that the Russo brothers announced that What's-Her-Butt, even though she wasn't in Ragnarok, is now confirmed dead?
The Russo brothers need to go away.
Yeah, I don't want answers.
I'm done with them right now. I don't want to get into this because we're obviously not spoiling Infinity War here in this 8-year-old movie podcast.
Right.
But they just keep confirming fan theories and like giving credence to fan theories. Stop it. It's been like 2 weeks.
Yeah, and part of the fun is not knowing.
Right. It's like I don't want to know what happens in Infinity War, the next Avengers movie. I don't want to know what happens until next May when I watch it.
And I'm going to love it.
Yeah, but like I don't want to know that Captain America's not Captain America anymore and he's now the Nomad.
Oh, that was before the movie even came out, though. We all knew that.
Nobody knew that. Nobody knows who the Nomad is.
Lady Sif. Lady Sif is who it is.
Did you not remember her name?
Yeah, I've been all over. Played by Jamie Alexander.
Anyway. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Russo brothers right now. I want them to go away and stop ruining everything. But
I'm sorry
that's a topic for a different day. We are talking about Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which does have Chris Evans, who is Captain America, and Brandon Routh, who is the worst Superman ever. He plays Evil X number 3, and Chris Evans plays Evil X number 2, and some guy plays Evil X number 1.
Patel.
Yeah, he is the only British actor in the whole movie. Edgar Wright did not want any British actors in this movie, and so this guy pretended to be American so he could be in the movie.
Was it filmed in Canada? Was it filmed in Hollywood? Where was it?
It was probably filmed in Toronto.
Yeah, it's apparently really cheap to film stuff up there.
Yeah, it's really cheap to film in Toronto. That's why like almost every like New York movie is filmed in Toronto.
Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
They talk about it in the movie.
Oh, they do talk about that in the movie. You're right.
Yeah, when they're at Casa Loma or whatever it is.
And that castle's really there, right?
Yeah, that castle's really there, and it's just like a permanent castle set.
So it's like a movie set. It's not like a castle that they built in Canada that one time, and now they use it for movies.
It's a like movie set castle.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I thought really hard about putting half and half in this one. This movie's so funny. Like the quips are constant. It never stops.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Is like this movie goes from the beginning and is just if you get the jokes, hilarious.
I get a new joke every time.
Oh, absolutely. Or I see something I didn't see before, and like I said, the graphics on screen, the sound effects, the character introductions, it's all stuff that if it was done even just a little bit differently would totally take away from the movie. But it doesn't at all.
It feels like it's rehearsed. Does that make sense?
Oh, I firmly believe that every single second of this movie was painstakingly scripted.
Yeah, like it seems like even that first scene where they're just sitting there and they're like, "So Scott, you're dating a high schooler?"
I mean, I've read the first part of the first act of the screenplay, and it absolutely is just it tells them how to look, it tells them how to act, it tells them what their coffee is.
How does Scott take his coffee?
It was like sugary, I think.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it's
Even
like
these screenplays. Did you read the whole screenplay or just
the first act? They take a long time. They're long.
They're dense.
There's a lot of stuff in there.
Making a movie sounds like a lot of work. How much time does it take, like day one to close?
A lot. Oh, I feel like
I would be so tired of it by the time it was over.
I don't want to just sit here and read IMDb trivia, but there's a really interesting.
There's a ton of trivia for this movie. I love that young Neil wears his heart on his sleeve. Johnny Simmons is that guy's name. What else is he in?
I have no idea.
He's in Perks of Being a Wallflower. So good. I don't know who he plays. Brad? Who's Brad?
I have no idea.
Brad's the older brother. Football player. Scott Pilgrim, Jennifer's Body, and The To-Do List. And he's in Girl Boss, which was canceled, right?
I think so. Anyway, so this is an interesting piece of trivia from this movie. Edgar Wright, when the movie was in editing after it had been shot, was like so unconfident with how he should edit this movie that he brought in and showed them a screening of the first cut. He brought in Quentin Tarantino, Jason Reitman, and Kevin Smith. And just so Kevin Smith, like Paul Blart. No, that's Kevin James. Kevin Smith,
James.
like
Kevin Smith
Clerks.
is...
Clerks, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob, those movies. And Jason Reitman did like Juno and Up in the Air, Thank You for Smoking, those type movies.
Yeah.
And so the original cut didn't have that voiceover at the beginning. The "Once upon a time in Toronto, Canada, Scott Pilgrim was dating a high schooler." That was Quentin Tarantino's idea.
Quentin Tarantino, you can definitely tell there's some of his influence.
Oh, for sure. That. What is the word? They talk about certain directors and singer-songwriters hegemonic, as being hegemonic. Then their influence is like evident no matter what, and you can tell when Quentin Tarantino's had anything to do with a movie, like whether he was just like in it or directed it or produced it or wrote part of it or did anything, was a consultant. You could tell when Quentin Tarantino's had something to do with a movie.
Yeah.
Like he has a very, very, very specific style and a very specific touch. And even if Quentin Tarantino didn't have anything to do with this movie, you could tell that this guy was like, grew up watching Tarantino movies and was like, I want to make those.
Yeah, for sure. You totally can.
Yeah, because if there's any director you can say has a style, it's Tarantino.
Oh yeah. That's like the quintessential, like that looks like a Tarantino movie.
Yeah, they're all really long.
It's like Wes Anderson. It's like,
oh yeah, well Wes Anderson.
They're not similar.
Wes Anderson's just the only director that still uses color, like all of the colors.
Yeah, he uses all the colors and he does like a bunch of like center framed shots and very good.
Yeah, there's a
very
evident,
good.
the very
bordered
evident directing style.
Center framed shots.
But yeah, he's the one of the only directors that still uses colors that aren't orange and blue. Man, I was watching just on the topic of shots. I was watching the first Lord of the Rings movie with my girlfriend who'd never seen it before, and I have not watched that movie in a long time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really bad shots in that movie.
Really?
A lot of like awkward, like nose up close-ups of people's faces.
I know there's a lot of shots of people's faces, and that was before GIFs, so it wasn't even like...
Oh, that movie has been heavily GIFed.
Oh, for sure.
Like every scene Gandalf is in, I'm like, that's a GIF, that's a GIF, that's a GIF, that's a GIF. So, somewhere right now, somebody's listening to this podcast and just gritting their teeth going, it's GIF.
It's GIF, it's GIF, it's GIF, it's GIF. Can you tell me... I remember this movie coming out, not this movie that we're talking about, but this movie, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, and people being like, oh my god, Viggo Mortensen, he's been in so many excellent things. Who the crap is Viggo Mortensen before this?
I don't know.
Like, I'm looking at these titles, and nothing is particularly... Granted, this is a lot, like, this whole time period was when I was not watching movies that were made for, like, avant-garde audiences, so I have no idea if any of these are any good. But I've never heard of, like, any of these movies. American Yakuza, is that a famous movie?
I have seen...
No, I got a 5.7.
Off the top of my head, I have seen 2 of these movies, which are Crimson Tide and 28 Days.
What is 28 Days?
28 Days is a movie about rehab with Sandra Bullock.
Oh, it looks good.
It is good. It's a very good movie. It's about her struggle.
46 Metascore. Maybe it's not that good.
It's pretty good. I mean, it's a like 2000 comedy, so it's as good as those were. But it's tough. And then Crimson Tide was like a war movie about a submarine.
I never liked those.
Denzel in it.
I'm looking at these. People were like, man, he's so good. He's the guy. He's Aragorn.
Yeah, and then Hidalgo.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, whoever he was in Hidalgo, since Hidalgo was the horse.
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm sure it's in here.
Frank Hopkins. What a great movie.
It's a true story, right?
Possibly.
I think it is.
I don't know. But yeah, people, I don't know. I guess Viggo Mortensen was probably, probably outside of Ian McKellen, he was probably, and Christopher Lee maybe, he was probably the most established actor in the movie. John Rhys Davies maybe.
Was Orlando Bloom nobody?
I believe that was Orlando Bloom's first acting credit, or one of them.
What? We're way off topic.
He had
Sean
not
Bean was
done a
somebody.
movie before Fellowship of the Ring. Who?
Sean Bean.
Was he?
I don't know. I would have.
I guess he was in Patriot Games. I don't know when that came out.
He's been in a lot of stuff since then. He's been active since 1984, and that was 2001. So there was 17 years of movies in there. He was in Black Beauty. That's a famous movie, right?
It's also about a horse. It's a horse movie.
I can't do the horse. I can't even sit through Seabiscuit.
Yeah, I've never liked horse movies. I think Hidalgo was the last one I enjoyed, and even that's pretty slow.
Yeah, I did like Hidalgo. Hidalgo.
All right, we're so far off topic.
We're way off.
All of these are acting credits for Sean Bean are TV movie, except Patriot Games.
I didn't know that.
Which is a phenomenal Harrison Ford movie.
I'm just gonna sidebar.
Patriot Games is a Jack Ryan movie. That is why I have seen that. Jack Ryan.
That
Jack Ryan is like Tom Clancy's version of Jason Bourne.
Oh, so
Hunt for
like a novel character.
Hunt for Red October was a Jack Ryan movie.
Gotcha. Is he Jack Ryan?
Harrison Ford was Jack Ryan for a couple of these movies. Alec Baldwin was Jack Ryan in that movie.
Wasn't Tom Cruise Jack Ryan at some point?
Maybe.
You know what's not a menacing name?
What?
Ethan Hunt.
No. Talking about Mission Impossible.
Tom Cruise is a menacing name.
I know as an Ethan, I'm supposed to love the Mission Impossible movies. It's like my duty.
You don't like them?
Not particularly.
Oh my god, I love them.
I've never gotten into them. Like they're
I'm not into them
There's
at all.
so many
I have
better
no idea
like
what the continuity is.
Action like American spy movies.
No, it's got the real action stunts though. The stunts. It's got the stunts.
Awesome.
Tom Cruise kills himself doing.
Yeah, they have no plot though.
Yeah, they're terrible. Have you seen the previews for the next one? By the way,
yeah.
Kal-El's mustache better be extremely important to that movie. It better be the most important. What is the actor's name? I don't even know. It better be the most important part of that movie that guy has a mustache. Because I don't know if you've seen Justice League yet, Ethan, but it's noticeable.
You talking about Henry Cavill?
Henry Cavill.
Yeah, Superman.
Yeah. You can't be Superman. You can be Superman and have a mustache. That's ultra 21st century. Like Superman meets Freddie Mercury. That would be awesome. People would be all about that. You can't CGI out your mustache. You can't do it.
Yeah, that trailer does.
You know what Michael
terrible.
Cera does? He just shaves the mustache.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Well, the problem with this particular movie, and I didn't realize this until we started talking about this particular movie, is that it's really hard to talk about this particular movie without like seeing it physically in front of you.
Yeah, it's very I don't mind spoiling it for you, listener, but the spoilers don't matter.
Right. It's not about the plot. The plot is that Scott Pilgrim has to battle Ramona's 7 evil exes before she falls in love with him.
And then she falls in love with him while it's happening.
She can be in love with him.
Right. Oh god.
To break Gideon Graves' hold on her, which the big bad villain at the end of the movie is Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah, I like that. Do you have? Let's try to break this down into conversations about the film. Do you have a favorite evil ex?
Yeah, Jason Schwartzman.
What?
Yes.
Gideon's the worst.
Yeah, but I love that guy.
I love the Brandon Ruth.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you're gonna if you're talking about like a story behind the low level exes, it's between him and Chris Evans. They're the only ones.
Chris Evans is so poorly acted. He was like a sore in this film.
Nah, because he has development of the character.
What do you mean? No, he doesn't.
Yeah, he does.
How does he develop?
He doesn't develop, but there's a story behind the character, as opposed to you don't really know anything about Matthew Patel or Roxy or the twins.
Matthew Patel punched a hole in the moon.
No. Brendan Ruth punched a hole in the moon.
Oh, you're right. He's got vegan powers.
Yeah, he's got vegan powers.
No vegan diet, no vegan power.
Yeah, I mean he's probably the best evil ex because he's dating Envy. He gets that whole scene.
Oh, and Envy. I loved Envy.
I love Envy.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
What's her
Brie
name?
Larson.
Brie Larson. I didn't know that was Brie Larson until we watched it this time.
Really?
Yeah. To me, she always looks the same, and she does not look like Brie Larson always does in this movie.
Yes, she does. She has not aged.
No, she'll be, how old is she? 24? She'll be 24 until she dies.
Yeah, she has not aged.
At the hand of Thanos. Aubrey Plaza.
Who? Oh my god! The supporting
have you tried
cast.
the section marked the Clash at Demon
The
Head?
supporting cast in this movie is so great for their little bit parts. Like, I love Aubrey Plaza, I love Julie, I love Stacy, who's played by Anna Kendrick. I love like Cuomo.
Hey, Cuomo, you know everybody, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know a girl with hair like this? Yeah, that's Ramona Flowers.
Like, I love the band. Steven Stills, Young Neil, and Kim Pine.
For the band? For the band?
For the band?
For the band?
I
love
Knives.
Steven Stills has these big like giant notepad drawings from the comic books of like everybody that they're gonna face.
And these constant blow-ups, and they're like, while Crash and the boys are playing, he's just screaming and you can't hear a word of it.
Right. And like they add like visual effects to the music.
Yeah.
They've got like lightning coming off the guitars and stuff.
Oh, and this movie, for a movie, because like I love a movie that does a lot of one-hitters, like a lot of no-cut scenes. That's my favorite thing, right? Like, I love the beginning. I love the beginning of Baby Driver. Obviously, Birdman's my favorite movie ever, so that movie has one cut in it the whole time. But like, this movie uses a lot of cuts, and it uses them very well.
Yes.
Where it'll just like, there's a whole scene where Scott's just focused on Ramona, and they go from like having a meeting to like band practice to getting some coffee to going to a show, and it's all one like cut together scene.
Well, and it almost feels like Scott, like, it doesn't seem like time is passing between these moments, and everybody knows it, and Scott's like, where are we going? And Steven Stills is like, I just told you, we're going to, it's like 3 days later, we're going to wherever the place is.
Right. It's like, it's been hours. They did a whole band practice. Like, Scott, you played one note during that last song. Oh, I always took it to mean like he just played one note, like just doop.
No, I think because he's standing there repeating the note when he says that.
Oh yeah. Oh, and there's one scene. Oh, and this is the rest of this podcast is pretty much just gonna be me describing scenes. There's this one scene where like young Neil's going over a plan, and there's just ominous like bass music going on in the background, and it pans away, and you see that it's Scott just doing it.
I love young Neil's development. Like, young Neil, at first, there's a good story arc with him, because at first he's like, I'm just going to do whatever Scott says, right? Whatever Scott
He
wants
literally
to do,
echoes Scott. Every time Scott says sucks, young Neil's like, sucks.
Sucks. Young Neil is one of the best lines in the movie, where he's talking to Knives, and she's like, oh my gosh, they're so good. And he goes, yeah, you should see them live. And like,
you should
at
see
the
them live.
concert.
They're much better live.
Yeah. And then Cuomo has the concert later, or the line later on, where it's just like in the side, and he's like,
their first album was way better than their first album.
Their first album was way better than their first. There's so many little quips like that.
The best scene, and I'll argue with this till the day I drop dead, the best scene in the whole movie is when Knives shows up at the door. Wallace answers the door, and she's like, hey, I'm here to see Scott. And he goes, he just left. And Scott dives out the window.
Dives out of the like little cellar
reaches
window.
back in, grabs his hat, and then you see him run off behind Knives.
I also love when he's on the date with Ramona, or with Knives, and she's like, I can't remember who he's on a date with. They're like, are we going to go into your place? And he's like, no, I have like a strict not on the first date policy.
Do you want to see where I grew up?
He said, do you want to see where I grew up? And it's the house across the street. like it's right there. And it's not even like funny. Like, it's not like, there's no reason that would be funny.
No, but
just
it
the
is.
fact
It's just so deadpan. And that's what makes the whole movie, is that like nobody laughs. Nobody smiles the whole time.
Ramona is like the coolest person.
Right.
Like, nothing would make that girl laugh.
Right. We haven't even talked about Ramona.
Ramona. What do you think of Ramona? I think she's a terrible person.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They both are. Her and Scott both suck. Scott like cheats on Knives with Ramona. Ramona's this awful person to him. They just cut back and forth at each other the whole time. Like, it's this.
And like, he's going through and fighting all these evil exes, and Ramona's like never that invested.
Right. She just keeps leaving and like running off and being like, well, I mean, I guess you can do this or whatever. And he's like understandably mad about it, and she sucks to talk to. And then finally they both grow up at the end.
Yeah, and they love each other, I think.
Yeah, they walk off into Star Door together.
Star Door. Yeah, because she's like, you deserve to be with Knives, and he's like, and Knives is like, no, really, you should be with Ramona.
Yeah.
This doesn't make any sense. Because Knives grows
Right,
up.
Knives is like, we weren't good together, I like Neil.
Young Neil. He wears his heart on his sleeve.
Yeah, literally.
Quite literally, the whole movie. And his shirt is just like 3 rectangles. That's the exact shirt he wears in the comic, by the way. I don't know if you knew that.
I haven't actually read them. Read them.
This was the first soiree. I want to get into comics while we're talking about this. This is my first soiree into comics in like high school, and it remained the only comic I read until you and I went to buy a couple comics in college, and we did not get interested in them.
No, I still have your comic books.
Yeah,
they're on my bookshelf.
And then, yeah, I totally believe it. It's the Sam Wilson as Captain America.
Yeah.
And a few issues of that, I think.
I think you had 2 of those and something else.
I had Nova. I liked
bought
Nova.
An Iron Patriot comic.
The thing that frustrated me with comics, anyway, real quick on the Scott Pilgrim thing, it was the first comics I read in high school, and they were incredibly readable, they were funny, they were good, they had all those quips and jokes like they have in the movie. It's a very good adaptation for those first 2 acts, and they're definitely worth buying and reading. They're by Brian Lee O'Malley. They're very, very good. And I read them in high school because the token kid that everybody shouted the name of in our high school, which like every class had one. When we were freshmen, it was Tanmay. I remember Tanmay. And then when we were seniors, it was Brian Lee, who was in our class. Yep. And then the fact that these comics were written by Brian Lee O'Malley, I was like, well, I've got to read them. And I think Jonathan got them for me for Christmas. But they're very, very good. They're hilarious.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then in college, we tried to get into comics. I wasn't interested. I got like a Deadpool anthology at some point that I carried in my backpack literally to every class all of college. I don't know if you knew that. That's a fun fact about me.
I did know that.
I don't know why I did. I never once pulled it out to read like during the day, but I did read it and I wasn't interested. And then recently, I decided that I was going to collect the Amazing Spider-Man comics. Have I talked about this in the podcast?
I don't think so. I think this existed since we last recorded.
Oh,
maybe
I've
not.
done it for a little longer.
Well, we didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about it with Sam. So
Sam, what do you guys think of Sam? If you liked Sam, be sure to tweet at us and let us know that Sam's the man. You can even just say at Baconandeggs23, Sam's the man.
And we'll tell him.
And that, yeah, because he's on Twitter, but he's not on Twitter. If that makes sense. But I've recently started collecting the Amazing Spider-Man, and the oldest issues I can get at my local comic book store are in like the 300s, and I want like all of them from 1963 to now, and there's 800 issues at the end of this month, and I want all of them, and I have 6 now, so it's a very small collection, but I'm getting there. But with Marvel Unlimited, which is available free for a week, and I cannot get you a promo code, dear listener, but you can read over 20,000 different comics that Marvel has put out for like $10 a month. Which is like the same as Netflix, but there's 20,000 comic books that Marvel put out, and they're all super good. I've been reading the original 1963 Spider-Man. It is so easy to read, and like that was there was that gate with comics when you and I read Iron Patriot and Captain America, that it was like, I don't know all of these characters,
right?
I don't get the stakes. Like the drawing, I could tell was for somebody other than me, and it was frustrating because as somebody that like prides themselves on getting art and like loving comic book characters, it was so frustrating to read newer comics and be like, I don't get it. I don't see the hype at all. But it took me about 5 issues of Spider-Man and just like being like, I'm just gonna read these because I think if I know what happens in the history of Spider-Man, I'll enjoy it. And then I got to the first issue that has the lizard, and I was like at the edge of my seat reading this comic book. I was so excited, like trying to see what was going to happen next. It was super predictable, and it was, cheap dialogue and very cheesy and very campy, but they did a really good job in 1963, and I get why so many people love Spider-Man, of like making you care about the character and making you care about the story and making J. Jonah Jameson like Joffrey from Game of Thrones, like so easy to hate.
Right.
So if you're looking for a recommendation on how to get into comics, that's how I did it, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. If you'd like to do it as well, I would totally talk comics with you, but I have no idea what I'm doing.
Fair enough. I'm glad you're finding joy in that. That's a good thing.
Because I've talked about this since high school, that I've wanted to be
right,
into comics,
and we tried, and that was my thing. Is like I'm a collector of things, and it bothers me if I can't like get the first one. Like, I gotta start with the first one.
Well, that's what's so good about Marvel Unlimited, is that they've got all of them.
Right, but I'm not interested in that.
I
would want the books, like physical. Like I would want to collect entire runs. Like I don't care necessarily. I have like Spider-Man 1. But it's like if it's a specific run, I would want to start with the first one and read them in that order, and like have them in that order. And that's so tough to do with comic books because there's so many of them, so many stories. They're getting published all the time, and they never any particular order to what inventory places have.
Yeah, and it's very tough because like what we figured out with comic books is that like the title of the book, for those of you that read comics are probably just shaking your head at how stupid we are for not realizing this. But, like the title of the book, like what I've been reading is The Amazing Spider-Man. But there's also like Spider-Man 2099, which is a totally different character, like a different continuity, different universe. There's like The Amazing Spider-Man, Renew Your Vows. Totally different character, totally different story. And it's tough to know like what continuities go with each other and what, because like you can kind kind of figured that out with Spider-Man, but then like what Captain America is always interacting with Spider-Man if I want to read Captain America comics, you know?
Right.
So it's confusing. I'll totally grant you that.
And yeah, and like I go to it's like, you know, we bought those when Thor Ragnarok first came out. I bought us those Korg pops, right? And it was like everything I had not to just buy the entire like Thor Ragnarok collection.
We should have totally done that, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't have the money for that.
I know, me neither. But we do now.
It's called,
and now we can't buy
It was called
them.
self-control.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is like I want to collect all of them, and it makes me mad that I just have Korg. Like I love Korg. He's great. He's a little creepy. He doesn't have eyeballs, or he doesn't have like pupils. But I guess no pops do. But his eyes are white and they're scary.
My Korg's downstairs, so I can't see him. But that's the thing with Spider-Man is like I understand that collecting 800 issues and all the variants is gonna take 20 years, and there's going to be 800 more issues by that point. But being able to go on Marvel Unlimited and just read them from the first issue ever forward in order is fun.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Interesting. So if you're looking for,
but is it like one 800 issue story? Like, is it congruent?
It is congruent. There are like I'm like 7 issues in. Like I'm still in 1963.
I know, but like I didn't know if you knew that. Like, does it ever get like completely reset?
Yeah. So it goes from 1963 to like 1998. I think. And then there's like a 2003 to 2011. I'm sure I'm butchering these numbers. But then, like, so it stopped and restarted twice. But The Amazing Spider-Man from 1963 to today has 799 issues.
Okay, fair enough.
And I'm sure he's died at some point. I have no idea.
Well, you'll find out.
I know. And it's a huge endeavor just to read all of them. But buying the books, I have no interest in buying the books and then reading and like holding a comic book and reading it. Because then, like, it's not necessarily an investment I think I'm going to make a lot of money on. It's just like, why would I devalue them if I can just read them in perfect color on my iPad?
For sure.
Yeah.
When you have a lot of people they'll find a new issue and buy 2 of them, read one and keep one in the plastic.
Do you know that comics don't come in plastic? It's like like if you read online, like original still in the plastic. It's like it didn't.
Well, I guess
plastic.
what that means is that they bought the issue and the plastic together at the same time.
Yeah.
And never took it out.
Right, but there's no way to prove that.
Anyway, Scott Pilgrim.
You can find me let's get back on that. Sorry, I just wanted to take that little digression. Scott Pilgrim, we're talking, there's a bunch of characters here. And they all seem like they've got a huge backstory. Like there's definitely a lot to them. Like every character is more interesting than Scott.
Yeah. Well, Scott's, just a boring guy who plays bass.
Scott's not just a boring guy that plays bass. Scott is a boring guy that plays bass in a world where everyone has a story. Like Steven Stills is like doing the band thing, and he's like, I'm going to be Toronto's next big thing, and that's extremely important to me, and like that's important. And young Neil is just an echo of Scott. He's like Nega Scott. And like Knives is like this high schooler that's like trying to figure everything out, and she's like all about yearbook committee and she cares about it. And like Wallace is like this socialite gay guy that's all about his whole thing. Stacy Pilgrim is like a working person. Scott is like, I'm between jobs.
Yes. Scott is fun employed.
Yeah. But Ramona equally is uninteresting.
Well, she's
Who is Mary Elizabeth Winstead?
She's Ramona Flowers.
She was the girl from 10 Cloverfield Lane.
I didn't ever see that.
Oh, you never saw it? Oh, I liked it. I
just haven't seen it.
I think I was 76 on Metascore.
She was from Live Free or Die Hard. She's Bruce Willis's daughter.
That was a good movie.
It was a good movie.
I love that one.
You and I saw that together in theaters. It has Justin Long in it.
Yeah, I have a cousin named Justin Long. He's not a patron. His sister is, but he's not. Justin.
Yeah. Anyway, that was Mary Elizabeth Winstead was his daughter. Other than that, what she's known for is that Scott Pilgrim, 10 Cloverfield Lane, and Smashed.
Never heard of it.
Me either.
Oh, it's got Aaron Paul.
Does it?
Yeah, look at that. And Nick Offerman. This seems like it's worth my time. Megan Mullally. Nick Offerman's wife. Octavia Spencer. This looks like a cast. Actually, that's the end of it. I don't recognize any of the rest of these names.
I do love Nick Offerman. I don't really love Megan Mullally, but...
Well, he does. That's all that matters.
He does, yes. That is correct, but...
If you need a good time, just go look at Nick Offerman's headshot on IMDb.
Yeah, with the shirt, the Fender Rhodes shirt.
Yeah.
The thing is like, he is Bron Swanson, but he's less of a and a lot of.
Is that true?
About Nick Offerman? Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen his stand-up.
I've also seen his stand-up, and from his stand-up, you could tell that dude is.
I've heard him read Tom Sawyer to me.
Was that good?
It's Tom
He's
Sawyer.
Got a great voice.
Yeah, so you can imagine that it's not bad.
I mean, Tom Sawyer doesn't suck.
Mark Twain is like a challenge to read.
How so?
It's not like light fiction.
It's pretty light.
I don't know. I felt like there's some dark themes to it. And it's not
Tom
like...
Sawyer's for, like, kids.
I don't know. I just didn't feel like when I read Mark Twain books, I feel like I'm reading something that's excellent, but something that's not engaging.
Well, it's just a
Like,
classic for a reason.
Right. But I'm just not like, ooh, what's going to happen next? I've got to turn the page. Is Spider-Man going to defeat the lizard man thing? He does, by the way. Spoiler.
Well, it's a comic book, so probably.
Yeah.
I think he probably wins in episode 7, or issue 7, or whatever.
Issue 7 of 800? Yeah. Unlikely that he would die
Yeah,
there.
he probably doesn't die in the first 2 episodes. And it's similar in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, because there's no chance that he's going to lose to these evil X's. Like, they are clearly beatable.
They're clearly beatable, but, like, obviously we're not going to get to the second one and him lose. Like Chris Evans is not going to win, and then that's the end of the movie. And that's sort of the predictability to it, is that, like, oh, Scott is obviously not going to lose. But it's interesting to see the way that he beats them. Like, he would have lost to Chris Evans if he wasn't like, can you do a grindy thingy?
Well, I mean, they've all got their like, their weakness.
It's Ramona. It was all of
Well,
them.
no, but, like, Chris Evans, what's his name? Lucas Lee was incredibly prideful, and he let his pride be his downfall.
Yeah, and Brandon Ruth's got vegan powers.
Right. So he was gluttony, I guess, if we're tying 7 deadly sins to these people.
Oh, is there 7? Can you do that? Can you?
I'm thinking about that right now, because Roxy would be lust. I don't know how the Katayanagi twins fit in there. Gideon Graves is definitely greed.
Yeah.
Well,
Envy would have been
envy.
So then you can put 2 of them together.
So what would they be?
Sloth.
That's Scott's thing.
Wrath. Sloth. What is sloth?
Like laziness.
Oh, that it actually means that.
Yeah.
Without care. Do any of them not care?
I don't know. What's Matthew Patel's shtick? I guess he's wrath. He's like bitter and hurt.
Anger, rage, and hatred. So there's, just to run down the 7 deadly sins, there's lust, gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride, which is just like, I feel like saying them that fast is like insulting to the discussion.
Yeah, I guess envy would be envy.
Envy, greed, and lust. Insatiable desire. Yeah, definitely not the Katayanagi twins. They were more like,
They didn't really have a personality or like a story. Why did she date them? Was there like a little montage for that? I can't ever remember.
I don't think there is. I'm sure it's explained in the comic, but in this particular case, I don't think it's...
Well, I just accidentally applied the deadly sins to most of Ramona's evil exes. Also, lust, or Roxy's representative of lust because she is orgasmed to death. In case you guys missed that one. Because Scott...
You can cut that
Scott
out.
touches the back of her knee, and she dies in this orgasmic fit.
And, like, she dies. Like, dead.
Like, she explodes into coins. Which is, by the way, another interesting feature of this movie is there's no, like, actual blood or anybody getting hurt. They just explode into coins.
I love the coin thing. I think it's like a little comic book nod. It's like Pac-Man.
Why is Pac-Man called Pac-Man, Tyler?
Because he was going to be called Puck-Man, because Japanese word for flapping one's mouth is paku, which like doesn't translate to Puck-Man, so I don't get that. But they thought that the kids would deface the machines because you could just knock out a little part of the P
and make him
comma at
man.
the end. Man, put a comma in there.
So why do you like this movie so much?
It just makes me so happy.
But like, why? Like, expound upon that.
It's so surrealist. It's like watching a dream unfold where, you know, like Scott goes through the plane of death and Ramona's like going through the interdimensional highway
through his head.
Interdimensional highway through his head.
3 miles in like 10 seconds.
Like,
I forgot you guys don't have those in Canada, is what she says.
Like everything they say is just so absolutely absurd, but so normal. There's so much to gather from the movie. It's so easy, if that makes sense. Like it doesn't beat you over the head with overt symbolism, but it is overt, where it's like the young Neil wearing his heart on his sleeve thing. Like, that tells you so much about that character, and it's literally part of his t-shirt. You know, and it's overt. It's there. It's not hidden or anything. You know, a lot of these times, like if you look at a lot of the Guardians of the Galaxy or the Marvel movies, they're like, well, if you pause the screen right here in Guardians of the Galaxy and zoom in a little bit in this corner, you can kind of make out that it says this, which means that. It's like, you can be a little bit it's much more on the getting blue milk straight from the source side of things. Like, that's the kind of fan service it is, but it feels like a fan service movie with no source material.
I'd agree with that. I would absolutely agree with that.
And it was great all the way through. Like, every time I've watched it, it has been enjoyable as a member of a different demographic.
It's a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with it.
Did you? I can already see the DM from John.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it as soon as, like, it'll be like what's like 10 a.m. So Pacific Standard Time. It's like 1 p.m. I'll get a DM on Twitter from John Negroni that's like, I fucking hate you.
It is so much fun. It is like Edgar Wright does so many brilliant things, and it's just fun to watch. It's a good time. It's one of my favorite movies. It really is.
It's just you're hard pressed to find any reason to hate it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of movies
And
where you're like you can see why somebody wouldn't like this. And I can see why somebody wouldn't like this, but I can't see why somebody would have some kind of violent like, oh, I really don't like that movie.
I mean, if Ready Player One could have been this, Ready Player One would have been better. With like all the references and like just so casually put in there. Which, by the way, as long as we're talking about Ready Player One, Halliday's favorite game is not GoldenEye in any category. Okay? Halliday did not play 90s first-person shooters. His freaking castle was on Planet Doom in the movie. Doom is a first-person shooter, Ethan. It was the first-person shooter. It's such a Halliday thing. Halliday also wouldn't have played an Odd Job. He wouldn't have liked that. What do you think?
I just, like, this will be the thing that consumes you until you die.
What?
Like, I will get a text in 75 years.
Why would they say Halliday's
we will
favorite game
both
is
be
Gold-
turning 100 years old, and you'll just be like, I just can't believe that back in that really old
Spielberg.
movie, they made it Halliday's favorite game. And I'll be like,
Listen.
what are you talking about? Who are you?
I'll remember this detail. I have this big poster in my room that says Marvel on it.
Yeah.
Bugs me. I'm just looking at it right now. Bugs me because in the bottom corner it says Marvel and like the exact same logo. Why would it do that?
That would bother me too. Oh, I just, as long as we're talking about Marvel, I bought the DVD for it and I watched the director's commentary of Thor Ragnarok. I cannot recommend anything higher than that.
Taika Waititi is a genius.
Watch the director's commentary for Thor Ragnarok. It's so funny.
I will do
like,
that.
You could tell there was no editing to it. There was some dude in a sound booth that was just like, record. And they just let him go.
He's so weird.
Yeah, and he's in there and he talks himself the whole time, like every time he's on screen.
As Korg?
Yeah, or he'll just be like, and now this is a really well-known upcoming New Zealand actor named Taika Waititi.
Oh, man. That movie's got a fun little rock, paper, scissors overall joke where, like, Asgard is killed by rocks, something? No. That's not it. Meek's got knives for hands, but he's killed by Korg.
Except he doesn't die.
No, I know. Well, does he?
Probably not.
I don't want to say, knowing what I know is not from Infinity War, but is a spoiler. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, just a big old you from Joe Russo.
Just handing out spoilers left and right. I mean, it's like a speculation spoiler.
So, what about this movie? What about Scott Pilgrim vs. the World?
What about it? What do you want to know? What am I doing? What's the question?
What about it, man? What about it?
What's the website for Amazon.ca?
I could literally make stupid jokes from this movie all day long. Like, I love this movie so much that Tyler could text me and be like, what's the website for Amazon.ca? And I will fall out of my chair laughing.
Here's the other question, Ethan. I think this is a good way to frame it in terms of, like, this is, like, the most for you and me movie ever made. It is for, like, geeky guys who have been in bands and, like, had a social life.
I am the demographic for this movie.
Who are, like, between 15 and 25.
Right.
Like, would your mom like it?
I doubt it. She would probably think it was funny, but she would be like, I don't really get it.
My mom wouldn't get it at all. My mom would hate this.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think anybody really over the age of, like... And I know, obviously, there's a certain type of person... But, like, a lot of this stuff is just a certain generational thing.
Yeah.
Like, I know Carrie Pegg gets all this stuff.
Carrie, if you're out there, I miss you.
I know Carrie Pegg gets all this stuff. If Carrie Pegg doesn't think this movie is hilarious, I'd be very surprised.
He's tough to read. At first, I thought John was going to be a very, as long as we're talking about previous guests of the show, it is also as long as we're talking about as the theme of today's episode. As long as we're talking about previous guests of the show, John was somebody that I thought was going to be very avant-garde. Wouldn't like any Marvel movies or Star Wars or anything like that. Very good, like, good stuff, quote unquote.
You forget that John wrote the Pixar theory.
John wrote the Pixar theory, of course. So John and I have very similar taste in movies.
As do John and I.
Yes.
John is that weird gap between all of the movies that Tyler has seen that I have not, and all of the movies I have seen that Tyler has not.
I don't think I've seen a movie.
You've seen plenty. You watch
except Wonder Woman.
You watch a bunch of stuff that I just have no interest in.
I watched like the DC movies.
Yeah, no interest whatsoever.
They're not good. Justice League wasn't bad. It was about as good as Thor 1. I'll put that out there.
Yeah, I'm just not interested. I just don't care about those characters. Is the thing.
Not gonna spend 150 minutes on just as good as Thor 1, like knowing it going
I don't know, you were talking earlier about Arrow and the Atom, and I'm like, why do you even try, DC? Like, just give up. You got bro.
They're buying a streaming service. They're building an entire streaming service just for their characters.
Like, with the exception of Batman, your best characters are as good as Marvel's worst characters.
Whoa. You'd be nice to Wonder Woman.
No. We have talked about this movie not at all. Like, this is by far the episode we've talked about the movie least.
You know, it's crazy. I don't know why we did that, but I feel like we haven't been together, just you and me, in a long time. We have some guests who are very good at keeping us on track. Wheezy Waiter was like, let's talk about the movie, guys.
What?
And I would be like, oh,
and we were also doing Infinity War. And
yeah, well, and I love
Star
Wheezy.
Wars. And like, yeah, we spent an entire hour talking to John about the movie industry. But
yeah, it was a good time.
But like, it's been since before Ready Player One that we did an episode just us.
It's fun. I like it. I feel like we get to riff and do our thing. Well, let's talk about, I was going to say let's talk about the Evil X's, but we talked about pretty much all of them. Is there a scene that you thought was lacking? I know we talked about the third act, like where it's all very plot heavy, being not as good. The whole first run at Gideon. And I get why it was like that. They had to set it up like that, but that whole scene bores me. Where it's like he has to guess the password and the password's just like, ugh. Yeah. Whatever, man. Like, I get that Scott's depressed because he got Ramona stolen from him, and now he's out for revenge against Gideon because Gideon's a huge jack. And whatever. But that whole first battle scene was just kind of lacking. It totally was.
Like, I didn't feel anything for Scott. I wasn't, like, rooting for Scott to win.
No, neither was I. Because at that point, I'm like when it came to relationships during my dating life, I was very much the type that was like, if they don't want to keep dating, that's fine. Like, it might suck, but there's nothing I can do about it.
Right, you weren't willing to fight for it or anything.
I mean, I was willing to fight for it, but I wasn't going to, like, fight somebody. Like, to me, it was a yes or no. You're interested in me or you're not. And if you're not, then I don't want to waste both of our time.
Right. I agree with that. And that's kind of how it felt with Scott in this first battle scene. And it was also just a weird thing of, like, they left the gig and then all of a sudden they were at another gig.
Yeah. Well, because they just signed the thing.
Right, but, like, no time passed. There wasn't even any, like, time passage scene.
Yeah.
It was like Scott went home and got a phone call that there was another gig going on right then.
And it's in New York, isn't it?
No. He was opening a second Chaos Theater in Toronto.
Oh, is that the idea?
Which the Chaos Theater, I guess, is just a weird venue that has a giant pyramid throne in it.
I guess. I don't know. The Chaos Theater looks like it looks like what I would imagine a club looks like if I'd never been to a club.
I would be startled if I went to a concert venue and there was a giant pyramid-shaped throne in the middle of it that some dude was just sitting on with a woman kneeling next to him. I would be like,
yeah, and she's
I'd be
like
I would look at the people next to me and be like, guys, we should leave. I know I didn't come here with you. You're just strangers, but like we should get out of here.
We should not be here.
Yeah, like this is not a safe place for human beings.
Yeah, the people die here. I can tell you that right now.
But that whole scene was kind of lacking for me. The whole third act. It's like I like it. I like the way it wraps up. But it's almost
Scott learned of self-respect,
right? And then he beats Nega Scott by them just talking it out, and it's
I thought that was stupid.
It's kind of cheap.
I didn't want to like a fight between them. I would have just not put Nega Scott in there.
Well, that's the thing is Scott has to learn to battle his own inner demons by just dealing with them.
Yeah,
I mean, it felt like something that was supposed to be set up, but wasn't.
Yeah, I felt like there was just a momentary lapse in attention to the Nega Ninja in the dance battle video game, where it was like, when it came back, you were like, oh yeah?
Okay. And this is probably going to come back to this because and this is where it's going to end up back because we just had a weird moment where I stopped recording, but American Pie sucks.
American Pie does suck. Yeah.
Those movies aren't funny.
No.
I don't get it.
Steve Stifler eats poop. That's the joke.
I don't know, man. Okay, so my girlfriend loves those movies.
I think I did when I was like a kid.
I'll play like a Blink-182 song and she'll be like, oh, this was an American Pie 2. I'm like, wait, that's why you know this song? She's like, yeah, why do you know it? I'm like, it's fucking Blink-182.
Because I know Blink-182 songs?
Because I was a youth at one point? Yeah, I know. I never liked those movies. I've seen most of them. I've just never cared.
No? Not
my cup of tea.
Well, that's okay. You don't have to love them.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that. Like, I think there are lots of funnier movies out there, and if anybody gets the idea to keep making them, stop.
They had Tara Reid, man, right? That's Tara Reid?
She was in Van Wilder.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, she's in these too. She plays Vicky. She's also in Sharknado. She's like the lead or whatever.
Have you seen Sharknado?
I don't want to like alarm you.
Yeah.
But she's also in Sharknado 6. I love the titles for these. Sharknado 5, Global Swarming.
So a couple years ago, I was watching something, and I was with a girl I used to date, and whatever we were watching, on after it was the world premiere of Sharknado 2, the second one, which is the full name of the movie.
I'm looking at that right now, yeah.
And I watched that whole movie front to back, like with commercials, like on TBS. It's so bad.
Yeah, not the best.
No, oh my god.
So surprising to hear that.
Like, it might be the worst movie ever.
They made a bunch of them. There's like 6.
Yeah.
6 Sharknado movies. What is that all about?
Yeah, which is crazy because the first one came out in 2013. So that's more than one a year.
They're churning them, man.
I don't know, dude. They came out with
obviously
Tremors.
know.
They came out with Tremors 8 last year.
I don't even know what Tremors.
Tremors was a very good movie. It was a very funny movie with Kevin Bacon from 1990, and they
Sounds
just
like a pretty
released.
slow turnaround.
They just released, yeah, but they just keep making them over and over again. They keep making them, and now Tremors: A Cold Day in Hell, I believe, is the 8th iteration, and it no longer has Kevin Bacon in it.
When did he stop?
I don't know. Possibly after the first one.
Gotcha. Well, I don't really know what to add about Scott Pilgrim. I love this movie, and it was very fun to watch on a Rabbit, and I hope that people join us to do that in the future. But like I could sit and chat about and just quote the movie all day, but I think we've given
Yeah, I think
pretty
we've
much
given
our
as much as
views
we
on
got.
it. Yeah,
All right, let's do villain rankings, starting with Matthew Patel.
we're gonna rank all of them.
No! We're not going to rank any of them.
I think Ramona's the villain here, or Gideon.
You think Ramona's the villain? I don't think Ramona's the villain. If anybody's the villain, it's Scott.
Yeah, Scott, Nega Scott.
Yeah. There's no villains, there's just boss fights.
Boss fights. Yeah, I mean, it's not a super complex film, but I think the conflict is overall not that good. Like, Brandon Ruth is definitely this shining moment, and he wasn't very good.
You know, one day we're gonna get to, like, a movie that really just doesn't have a villain, and, like, because we've just so far done, like, superhero movies and big blockbusters, and one day we're gonna end up on, like, I don't know, like, Failure to Launch. Like a rom-com.
There will always be an antagonist.
There'll be an antagonist, but, like a villain?
Yeah, it's tough to say.
Like, who's the villain in The Proposal? Betty White?
No, Sandra Bullock, or whatever. Is that who it is?
What?
Yeah.
It's about her.
No, it's about Ryan Reynolds.
It's about both of them.
Yeah, but she's like the devil. The movie is about her coming to terms with being the devil and being a normal person.
So in The Devil Wears Prada, is Meryl Streep the villain?
Yes. I have no idea how
I'm
that
team
ends,
Meryl
actually.
Streep. Actually, as far as, like, chick flick rom-com movies go, The Devil Wears Prada is a pretty good movie.
Is it?
Yeah.
There's a band with that name.
They're terrible.
I've never
They're
listened.
awful. Holy shit, man. Prada's never been
like
good.
them.
Like,
People like them, though.
people do like them. I've seen them live with my eyes.
With your eye holes.
At Warped Tour. They have a lot of weird names for songs.
What's more uncomfortable of a word? Eye holes or eyeballs?
Eye holes.
Eye holes?
Yeah.
Okay. Keep that in my back pocket.
Yeah, The Devil Wears Prada for a long time had a lot of really weird song titles, though. Like, they had a song called Who Speaks Spanish? Quesadilla.
That's a funny name for a song.
Yeah. And they're like a Christian band, but they're like a Christian,
are?
like, deathcore band. Yeah.
They're Christian?
They were.
Oh, they
They were. They don't play those songs anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
That
I know
seems
a lot
weird
more
to-
about The Devil Wears Prada than I want to.
It seems weird. I'm not one to judge, but it seems weird to be a Christian band selling merch that says the devil on it.
Well, you know, it's been a lot of weird Christian bands, especially Christian metal bands.
Yeah, those things. Autumn Burns Red.
August Burns Red is like a super Christian band.
Yeah, and they rip.
Yeah, I listened to this podcast called Lead Singer Syndrome with the lead singer from Silverstein, who's the host, and he just interviews other lead singers from bands. And the episode with Jake from August Burns Red was great because Shane, who does the podcast, is like a super atheist, and you could tell he was super uncomfortable when Jake was like, well, I owe everything of my success to the glory of God.
It's so wild.
Yeah, and he just sits down and Jake, you know, because they had just got nominated for a Grammy when they did the interview, and he was just like, yeah, I owe this Grammy to God. Obviously, I owe this nomination to the Lord. Like, obviously. Like, that's what all my music is about. What did you expect me to say? And Shane was just kind of like, I thought it was an act.
The Silverstein had a song I really liked for a long time. I think it was them.
What's it called?
Here Today, Gone Tomorrow.
Is that Silverstein?
It might not be. Now that I say it, it seems like that might not be the case.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure this is like an album with a train on the cover.
Yeah,
like
it was.
moving train.
Arrivals and Departures.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that song.
Oh, it was like, it jammed in my Honda Fit in high school. Anyways, let's rank Scott. No, not Scott. Who else do we rank? What else do we rank?
We have to give... Well, this movie doesn't have a series, so we don't give a series ranking. We have to give it a ranking in our overall movies, and we have to give it a breakfast food.
Oh, a breakfast food.
Let me pull up the movies.
I can tell you what the breakfast food is, and it's going to be a little off the wall. I hope you're ready.
Well, I feel like it's the best breakfast John Negroni ever had in Toronto.
You would like to think that, wouldn't you?
All right, this is gonna be tricky to rank.
To rank?
Yeah.
Is the list correct on?
The list has everything except for Force Awakens. So Force Awakens is on top and make everything else down by 1.
Okay, so it goes Force Awakens, Avengers, Star Wars, Monty Python, Back to the Future, Star Wars, Thor Ragnarok, Panther, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Captain America. I feel like this is in it's not as good as Thor Ragnarok.
No, it's not as good as Thor Ragnarok.
I think I can actually drop it down guaranteed below Guardians.
I don't know. I liked it better than Guardians of Civil War.
That's sort of the rank. It's definitely not as good as Spider-Man.
No, I would say it's right there underneath Homecoming.
You think it's better than Civil War?
Yeah, I just said that.
I know, but
there's a big gulf there for me because I still think Spider-Man Homecoming is better than Iron Man. I still think it's better than Black Panther.
Spider-Man Homecoming was a good movie.
Yeah, like I think so. I mean, it's better than Age of Ultron.
It definitely is. There's no doubt about that.
And it's not as good as Iron Man, the first one.
Yeah, or Spider-Man.
So it's either, and I think it's similar to Guardians, honestly.
I would feel weird placing it better than Guardians, but I'm willing to compromise by putting it between Guardians and Civil War. Honestly, I would, in a perfect world, flip Guardians and Civil War and then put it below Guardians.
Civil War is better than Guardians.
Okay.
It is. Sorry. It just is.
Deep breaths.
Yeah, breathe, buddy. You're good. You got this. All right, I can put it there in between Civil War and Guardians. So that'd make it the new 13.
Okay.
No.
I'm okay with that.
The new 14.
It's very confusing.
Short teen.
It's a teen, but it's in there. It's not better than Star Wars.
So it's
not better than
it is not as good as Star Wars, The Force Awakens, Avengers: Infinity War, Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back, A New Hope, Return of the Jedi, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Back to the Future, Star Wars: The Last Jedi, Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, Iron Man, or Spider-Man: Homecoming, or Captain America: Civil War. That was a mouthful.
Where are we now? Breakfast food?
Breakfast food, yeah.
All right. Let me just make sure I know what I'm talking about. Okay. This movie is the fruit from Pac-Man.
Like the cherries or whatever?
Yeah, so there's cherry, strawberry, orange, apple, melon, galaxy and starship, Bella, and Key.
Okay, I can live with that.
Right, because it's kind of like classic, but also kind of like out there.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm about it.
I don't know how to like explain it, but I hope you're okay with that.
I'm okay with it. I've just got a picture. Just got a picture of all the sprites from Pac-Man.
There's not that many.
No, there's not that many. It's basically just ghosts looking multiple directions. Paku Man. Uruturuman.
Okay, so you know how they're Blinky, Pinky, Inky, and Clyde?
Yeah. I mean, it's Inky, Blinky, Pinky. Get it right. There's an order.
I know, because there's a loading screen. But there's also Shadow, Speedy, Bashful, and Pokey are the characters. And then in Puckman, it was Oyakake, Machibuse, Kimogure, and Otoboke. And only one of those translates to its American name. And Machibuse is Pinky.
It's Pinky. Well, and then in Miss Pac-Man, it's Inky, Blinky, Pinky, and Sue.
I know. Well, anyway, what do we do now?
Sign off.
Sign off.
We say goodbye.
It's been nice knowing you.
It's been a good time.
Everybody. Oh, gosh. Do you do it? Do I do it?
I don't know. I was just trying to say stuff.
You go ahead.
No, I was going to say it's been a good talking about this movie. It's been good to get this off my chest, whatever this is.
Yeah, and we appreciate you spending time with us today. If you have any questions about the movie, you're welcome to ask them in our Facebook group, which is free to join for everybody forever. But for more direct and consistent communication with us, it's just a better platform. We recommend you join our Discord server. It's $5 a month on our Patreon, available at patreon.com/baconandeggs. If you're unfamiliar with Discord, it's a really, really awesome chat room service that's used a lot for gaming, but also has a lot of practical applications outside of that. You can find Ethan and I on Twitter and Instagram. The links are in the doobly-doo for our handles and everything, but mine's Amara Carlin. Ethan's is Wow Now. The O's are zeros. And the podcast is on Twitter at baconandeggs23. What else do we say?
Our artwork is by Vashaun Brandon. If you want to get artwork from Vashaun Brandon, let us know and we will get you some.
Yeah, he's the man.
Vashaun's the man. I think you said everything. I think that's all we do. It's been another fun episode of Bacon and Eggs. Thank you guys for listening. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. It's been a lot of fun. And until next week, arrivederci.
Amazon.ca.